Let's have a conversation about whether or not you should help your sibling who's been down in prison for many years. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. A woman writes in, she says, what if your sibling who's 60 years old has spent most of his life in prison, is getting out and wants to come home, meaning to her home, for the first time in, well, at this time, I believe that his attitude has changed and he's now taking accountability. So she goes on to say that he's been in and out of prison. And so, since he's been a young teenager. So I think, as opposed to taking, the first thing I would say is, I don't know you, you don't know me. So, you could take, my advice, or you could leave it on the floor, do what works for you. But for me, when you have somebody that's been in and out of prison, or somebody who's been down a long time, can people rehabilitate? Yes, but I don't take them at, just what they say. I think the best predictor, the best thing that's going to tell you whether or not their behavior has changed is, number one, what have they done while they've been in prison? So have they been in counseling? Have they, have they earned their degrees, or have they gotten any certificates and programs and things like that? Like what programs and things like that have they taken advantage of in prison? Because that's a long time to be down. So, he could have he could have gotten his GED, gone to college, gotten a trade certificate, depending on where he did time. So what have they done with their time? And that's going to tell you some things. Number two, what's been going on while they've been in prison as well. Have they been in administrative segregation? Have they racked up points and gone from medium security to higher, to maximum or supermax? So have they ratcheted up points, demonstrating violence or problematic behaviors? You want to take a look at that. And a lot of times, that's something that can be located on the internet if they've had to change and things like that, and you could determine what sort of facility that they've had to go to. But number three, if you want to give them a chance when they get out, despite whatever you may see, or whatever they may tell you, you could certainly do that, but you need to have boundaries around that. And you need to be running a strict program when they get out. So they need to be, if they're on parole, they need to be following that to the T. You need to be having rules for your home, all that kind of stuff. So you need to set standards and expectations for your home, and they need to be doing their own work, not you sort of helping them with every single thing. You're providing shelter, and you could certainly provide food and things like that, but they also need to be doing what they need to do to get a job, and respecting your home, especially if you've got children there. You also need to set up consequences for what happens the first time they violate your rules, and things like that. What are you prepared to enforce if they break your rules? It should not be a free-for-all. You could just stay with me as long as you like and do whatever you want type of thing. But you need to also have like goals that they need to achieve as well. Like, okay, well, you could stay with me, but you have to be working, going to school and doing the things that you need to do in order to reintegrate back into society, meeting your parole and all of that kind of stuff. If you got children in the home, you need to respect the children in the home, keep the room clean and all of that kind of stuff. Whatever your rules are, you need to have them for your home. The other thing is, if a person has spent most of their life in prison, they are going to need to acclimate to the real world, to society. They've been down a long time. The world has changed, but they've also got to deprogram. As somebody who worked in prison for 5 years, almost 5 years, I had to deprogram and desensitize and get back to living the world as a normal person just working there. I had to do it. So he, of course, has to do that. So you want to be able to observe and be able to monitor whether or not he's deprogrammed. He may also need counseling and other services that are set up for him. And I don't know how much some states and counties and things like that are better than others in terms of setting up people for success. So sobriety programs and, transitional programs and things like that. Not all states and counties and cities are the same. So you may want to double check and do your due diligence with that. But I think the best thing is to be sure to have communication skills and have realistic expectations. Somebody who's been down like that, they have things that are instilled in them that it's going to take a long time for them to acclimate to the real world. And so just be prepared for that. But I wish you all the success. Be sure to keep the lines of communication with your sibling open, but also have your standards and your expectations. And, just make sure that, anytime you're living with somebody, you have to make sure that the two of you can peacefully coexist together, especially as an adult. He's been used to living his life for a certain way, just like you've been used to living your life a certain way as well. So you want to make sure that the two of you can peacefully coexist. Thanks so much. You take care.